So, we're going to be talking today about business exit plans, and there are a couple of different uh, elements to this, but I want to say just before we even get into any of this, that I'm grateful to ASTA for all of the support that they give our industry. Those of you who know me know that I'm a passionate supporter of ASTA. I'm part of the ASTA Attorney Referral Program, but in the meantime, let me just move to this. I am legally required, because I'm an attorney, to give you information about where you can find me if you want to get in touch with me. My email address is tcarpenter@carpentertaylor.com, and that's my office address, which I never go to because, like the rest of the world, I am working from home these days. Professional responsibility disclosures to get this out of the way. This may be viewed by some of the regulatory bar associations as attorney advertising. This presentation is for informational purposes only. I am not intending to provide specific legal advice to any of you. By participating in the webinar, we are not creating any kind of an attorney-client relationship. Prior outcomes don't guarantee future results. And this is one that I normally don't put up here, but because of the topic, I am not an estate planning attorney or a tax attorney. Those are not my areas of expertise, and one of the professional responsibility requirements is that we are not supposed to, as attorneys, give legal advice about subjects that we are not proficient in, and those are not my areas of expertise. So there may be certain things that I say that you have questions about, and I'm just not the best person to answer those questions. I've been practicing law for more than 25 years. Actually, this is my 30th year now that I think about it. I have spent most of my career representing clients in the arts and entertainment industry, but also in recent years, I represent quite a few travel agencies, tour operators. In fact, I represent about 1,100 travel agencies in almost every state. I'm admitted to the state bars in New York and Illinois, as well as federal courts, including the US Supreme Court. And in addition to my law practice, I also own a small hosted travel agency. So if any of my Uniglobe family is on here, shout out to my Uniglobe peeps. Okay, so here's the question that I thought we should start off with. What happens to your business when you aren't there? That's why you need a succession plan, an exit plan, an emergency plan. And there are all sorts of things that can happen. There's, things can be permanent, temporary, sudden and unexpected, or planned in advance. And so what's your plan when you're not there? So examples of temporary or short-term exits from your business would be things like coverage for vacation, work-related travel. You're going on a fam trip and you're going to be unavailable because the cruise line doesn't have good Wi-Fi. Accidents, illnesses, injuries, things that might take you away for a short period of time where you're incapacitated, and really any other reason that you would just need to hit the pause button on your business. If you've got something going on in your life that you really can't run your business and you need to hit the pause button, what's your plan for how your business is going to stay in place until you're done dealing with the other stuff? Permanent, you could retire, you could die unexpectedly, you could decide you want to sell your business to somebody else and maybe go into a different, start a new travel business or a different type of travel business. You also might want to be building value to pass the business to your family or to somebody on your staff who you really value and want to transfer the business to them. So here's why you need a plan. First of all, you don't want to put your staff out of a job if you're suddenly incapacitated. You don't want to leave your clients with unfinished travel plans. You don't want to leave your heirs a business that is in chaos and one that they don't know how to manage because they don't know the industry. And you don't want to end your career having spent your career in travel building a business that turns out not to be worth much, or one that is even worse, one that's in debt. So I think a good place to start, and this is something that even if you're not thinking about exiting the industry or passing your business on to somebody else, even if you're just running your business on a day-to-day basis, it's really important to know what your business looks like, to really take inventory of your business, know what you sell, know what's profitable for your business, know what's in your contracts with your employees and your independent contractors, know the terms of your lease, understand your finances and your contractual obligations, and pay attention to what you're doing on your website and media to build value. So if I asked any one of you, like I do this with suppliers, if I'm meeting with a supplier, I am able to sit down and say, I'm one of the owners of Huckleberry Travel, how long we've been in business, the types of trips we sell. If it's a cruise supplier, cruise is X% of our business and Y% of our revenue. If you can't rattle off those statistics about your business, spend the time to really look at your business so that you know what that is. It's a good idea just for running a profitable business, but it's especially important if you're going to start making a transition plan. And then the other question, and this is the most important thing of all to be thinking about, is who's going to be the you when you're not there? So if you know who your successor is going to be, but they don't know the industry, if you're going to leave the business to your family, but none of your family have ever worked in your agency, they don't understand how the travel business works, they don't know what FIT means, then you're going to have to make a plan to bring them up to speed. But even if they know the industry, but they don't really know how you operate, because every business is different, they'll need to know your operations and your workflow, and so you're going to have to make a plan to teach them that. So whether that's a key person on your staff, what I like to call a key lieutenant, or whether it's somebody in your family, if you've identified in your mind who the right person is going to be to take over, now is the time to start making sure that they know the things that they might not know, because if you are indispensable, that is a problem for the ongoing health of your business. So the upshot of this is really, you want to treat your business like it's a real business, right? Travel is fun, it's exciting, but I think we all know that it's also riddled with legal risk. It can be financially precarious. When we're coming off of 2 years when people weren't traveling, this is not the time to be winging it or to be ready, fire, aim. You don't want to do that with your business. Treat it like it's a real business. Okay, so let's talk about some of the short-term coverage. So this is pretty easy. If you were going to be away temporarily, whether it's because you've been suddenly struck ill and you need to recover and you can't work while you're temporarily disabled, or whether it's something that you just want to go on a vacation and you want to actually enjoy yourself because you're booking all these fabulous trips for other people and you never get to go on any without being tied to your phone or your email the whole time. You basically have two options. The first option is if you're in an agency where you have independent contractors or employees who you trust, you can have them cover your business while you're away, but you want to make sure that your contracts with those employees or those ICs are set up to protect your business while you're absent. So you don't want your independent contractor that you've trusted with your business to suddenly decide that they're going to download your client list and start a new agency. You don't want your IC to decide that they're suddenly going to abandon the workflow and start taking credit card numbers over the phone. So make sure that you've got contractual recourse if you're going to be trusting somebody to run your business. Make sure trust is good, but you need a contract that actually protects your business, because if something goes wrong or if somebody does something that they shouldn't do, you need to know that you're going to be able to deal with that. So have good solid contracts with your ICs and employees. The alternative to that is you could also, if you're a one-person show, for example, you could develop, or even if you're not, you can develop a relationship with another agency where you cover for each other. And in a situation like that, you're probably going to want to have an agreement with that other agency about how is the referral going to work, what's the compensation going to be for that, if there is compensation. I mean, you could certainly set it up as though, it's no money flows back and forth between your agencies. You just cover for each other and you do it out of the goodwill because you really trust each other. You'll still want an agreement that talks about how that works. but if you're compensating each other, you're going to want to have that reduced to writing. It doesn't have to be a contentious agreement or a difficult one to put together, but you should have some sort of agreement in place. Whether it's temporary, whether it's whether it's a situation where you're relying on ICs and employees, or it's a situation where you're working with another agency, you're going to need to have technology that makes it easy to share information, either with your staff who aren't working on what you're working on, or with the other agency. So if you've got a tech tool that is really complicated to share information about a trip, to share information about what the travel plans are that people are on, or something that the other agency might not be using, and so maybe they don't understand how that works, that's not going to be helpful. So you want to have the right technology, and ideally, if you've got the same kind of technology that that everybody's already using, that's easy enough to transfer that information. Your workflows and your processes are going to need to be in writing and need to be shared. So people who've worked with me on terms and conditions documents know that I am a huge advocate for having a really tight workflow where it's easy for your clients to do business with you. You're not rubbing their nose in a bunch of legal stuff when you send them your terms and conditions, but also that it's easy for your staff, your ICs, or your employees to follow that workflow, because the more complicated your workflow is, the more likely the possibility that somebody who is not willing to jump through all those hoops is going to skip a step and leave your business exposed. So make sure that you've got a really solid workflow and that you've got processes that are very, very clear, written down, and shared. And one thing to say about this, having a workflow and requiring your ICs to adhere to that workflow as a condition of being a contractor of your agency, that doesn't make them an employee. Obviously, you don't want to misclassify an employee as an independent contractor, but you can put reasonable restrictions around how you want your ICs to be working when it comes to protecting the security and integrity of your business. So having a workflow doesn't turn them into an employee, it just protects your business. And so if you have questions about that, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to talk you through it. If you're hosted, a really good place to look for somebody to be your backup might be your host agency. It could be a really great resource, so think about that if you're looking for a succession plan or a temporary plan. And always, with every trip, keep good notes, take lots of notes, keep good records. And I would recommend that you keep your files electronic, but especially keep them organized, because if you get hit by a bus and wind up in the hospital for 6 months, people are you don't want people to have to figure out what the chicken scratches mean, or where the files are located, or anything like that. And then lastly, on this slide, make sure that the people who are your number twos know that they are your number twos. If you need somebody to be your backup, this might be surprising to you, but I worked in a job once where there was somebody who suddenly was absent, and an emergency happened, and the person who was the designated number two did not realize, because nobody had apparently told them, that they were in charge if the boss was out of commission. So you might think that they understand that that's their role, but have a conversation with them. I know that seems obvious, but it's not always obvious. So that's for temporary plans, but a lot of that also applies to your permanent plan, right? So you should be making a plan for your for a permanent incapacity. If you are permanently disabled, sometimes your temporary plan can be the foundation for your permanent plan, but you're also going to want to make a completely different plan for your retirement or for your exit plan if you're still going to be around, but you just don't want to run your business any longer, or you don't want to work any longer. Remember that your business is an asset. A A lot of us, I've seen a lot of people just giving their business away. I think that's a mistake because even a small or a new business can have value. But the key to that is not encumbering your small or new business with unnecessary obligations. I want to take a minute here to talk about how you invest in your business and building for growth. I am encountering many new businesses, brand new businesses in some cases, that are immediately bringing on lots of independent contractors and salespeople. And sometimes even before they've sold their first trip. And I think that the way you grow a business sustainably is not to enter into a lot of contractual obligations to other people. It's better to build your business small before you expand, is I guess what I'm saying, because the more you expand, the more contractual arrangements that you have, the more complex your business is. A small business needs to be simple to start and then build it sustainably. And that way your business will have more value. Your business will have more value because you've built it sustainably rather than building it quickly and making it big. And then lastly, get rid of debt. If you have debt and you're planning for an eventual retirement or eventual sale of your business, debt is not your friend. So if you've got a PPP loan that remains unpaid or something like that from the pandemic, get rid of that as quickly as you can. Make that part of your peace out plan. So what are the different things that you can do if you want to exit your business? You're not permanently incapacitated. You didn't drop dead in the grocery store. You want to figure out a plan for 10 to 20 years from now. What are you going to do? If you have a very successful business, that business is going to have value, especially when people are suddenly realizing why they need travel advisors. You might want to sell it to a third-party buyer. Another option would be to give your business to your key lieutenant. If you've got a valued salesperson who's worked with you for many, many years, and you are preparing to transfer that business to them, you could sell it to them. But just beware, if you do a quote-unquote award of equity in your business, there might be tax implications if you're gifting your business to someone else. You could also give your business to a family member, either as a gift, maybe a bargain sale if you're going to sell it to them at a low rate, or you could do an arm's length sale. One thing that I think people don't think about this, if you've got somebody, maybe even a family member who's been working with you in that business for a while, a child or a niece or nephew or cousin or something like that, if you are just giving them the business and that is an asset of your estate and it has value, you might be surprised at other family members who have never expressed an interest before in being part of your business or running your business, who might suddenly be put out with the idea that you've just given your business to somebody else when it's so valuable. So I recommend that you have the difficult conversations with your family about how you're structuring your estate. Work with an estate planning attorney somebody who knows wills and trusts and estates, so that you can sort that out and avoid family feud. Definitely include your business in your estate planning. Talk to that is an asset. Don't forget about that when you're drawing up your wills. And for small or unprofitable businesses, you could do a number of things. You can sell your client list to somebody if they'll buy it. You can negotiate a referral fee for other agencies if you want to keep your business open on paper, but take 10%, 20% of the commission for those bookings that go over someplace else. Or you could set up a consulting arrangement where you're consulting with them. So to prepare your business, a few things that you're going to want to do. In the sale of any business, this is if you're selling your business, right? If you're selling your business, there's going to be a due diligence process where the person who's buying your business is going to get to look at your books and your financial reports so that they understand what your business is all about. So you're going to want to make sure that those reports are easy to read. print them out from Trams or QuickBooks or whatever you're using. But you want to make sure that the financial reports are easy to understand and that they give an accurate picture of your business. You're going to want to maximize your profits. In the years leading up to your sale, you want to cut your expenses because that will make your business worth more, right? In any business, you've got profits and you've got expenses, and the expenses cut into your profits. So if you cut the expenses, you're more profitable, you're going to be more attractive to a potential buyer, and it's going to be easier for you to sell. Lose the dead weight. If you have unproductive or problematic employees or contractors, independent contractors, now is the time to get rid of them. Cut them loose, figure out what you need to do to get rid of them, because people are going to be less willing to purchase a business if they're purchasing a lot of drama and very little productivity. But if you've got good employees, people who are truly valuable and essential to your business, people who have a strong book of business that they could easily take to another agency, those are the ones that you're going to want to give them more responsibilities. You're going to want to lock them into a longer term contract so that they can be an asset that travels with your business when somebody's purchasing it. But otherwise, you shouldn't be entering any new contracts, new long-term contracts. If you're ARC accredited, you might not want to get into a really expensive GDS contract right before you're about to sell your business. On the other hand, if you've got if you have corporate business and you have lucrative corporate clients, or you have a lease that's in a prime location, you get a lot of foot traffic to your brick and mortar, those might be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you're not going to want to enter into new contracts, especially if they're expensive. Okay, so what are the mechanics of selling a business? These are the basic steps. You perform a valuation of your business, you negotiate a sales price, you figure out the payment terms. There's this thing called an earnout, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's somewhat common for travel businesses that get sold. Are you going to be staying on during the transition? If you are, if you've been doing this for a long time and you've got a lot of clients who value your professional expertise, you have a lot of value as an asset to your business, and you can negotiate an arrangement where you'd be available for consultation for a period of time and be paid for that. That can be something that can be negotiated as part of the transition. But if people know you and like you and respect you, and you've got a strong book of business, think about whether you want to make that part of the mix. And then there's also the question of, as you know, we all don't get paid until the trip happens for the most part. So what happens if, while you own the business, you booked 1,100 round the world cruises on Regent, and then suddenly those payments aren't going to come in until after you've sold the business. So you're going to need to figure out, who gets those and how do you handle that. Okay. So I want to just talk a little bit about earnouts. Keep in mind, though, this is all negotiable, and frankly, after the pandemic, it's really, the industry is all over the place. And like I said, I've seen people give away their businesses, which I think is probably a mistake. But in terms of what the market, basically what the market will bear is just dependent on what a buyer is going to be willing to pay you for. But generally speaking, there's a flat payment at closing, plus a percentage of commission and fees for the next couple of years. So basically the way you calculate this is there's this thing called recast profits. You look at the agency's income over the past year, and then you adjust it for the owner's compensation and expenses, and then you take that number, you multiply it by a factor based on comparable sales prices, and that's the valuation of your business. So your profits multiplied, let's just say multiplied by 2 or 3, that is the valuation. And then the down payment might be 20%, that's just an example. And then the remainder of it after the 20%, you take that number, you divide it by you divide what's left after the 20% is deducted, that 80% number, you divide it by the commission and fees from the last 12 months, and then that becomes the percentage of commissions over the next year that are paid to you as the earnout. So that's a little bit complicated. If you want to Google Travel Weekly, Mark Pestronk, he's got an article of this, a couple of articles about this. You can Google earnout Mark Pestronk. He's a great guy, very smart, and he explains it much better than I do, especially when I know we want to get to questions pretty quickly. So just keep in mind that after 2020 and 2021, the market for selling an agency is really weird. There were 2 years where people weren't traveling, so if you had a strong business in 2022, maybe your valuation is going to be normal now, but maybe it's not, because it's hard to perform a valuation if your business isn't fully back after the pandemic. But on the other hand, travel agencies have value because consumers are really waking up to the fact that just because they can book something on the internet for themselves, it's not the best way to make sure that their travel is hassle-free. Now that people are really understanding the value of using a travel advisor, your business could be attractive to a purchaser. As travel is more complicated, so is selling travel. Just keep that in mind. But the bottom line is, on all of this, if you're selling your agency is going to be worth whatever somebody is willing to pay you to buy your agency. That's the bottom line. So, you can do a valuation on your own, a back of the envelope calculation, but if that's not what the market will bear, that's not what the market will bear. So, if you're a small business and you're small enough that you're not really going to sell your business, here are things that you could do. Even the smallest businesses have some value. You could sell your client list to another agency. You could negotiate referral fees with another agency, generally 10% to 20% of commission from leads that you send to that other agency. If those leads result in travel bookings, you could arrange for them to pay you that. Of course, you would want a contract for how that's going to work. Or you could go to work for another agency as a consultant and take your book of business to them for somebody else to administer. You don't want to do it, but you're returning phone calls and emails and introducing them to Janine, who is lovely and would be more than happy to book your trip to Antarctica. And then that's pretty much what I've got for you here. The key takeaways here are you need a plan for vacation and temporary emergencies. So work on a short-term plan for what happens to your business when you're away temporarily, whether that's intended or whether that's accidental. And that plan can also be a foundation for your exit plan. Maybe the agency that covers for you while you're on vacation is a potential buyer of your business when you want to retire and sell. Maybe the people who are lined up to cover for you if you suddenly take ill and are hospitalized and unable to run your business, maybe those are the people who are going to be willing to take it over if you are permanently incapacitated. But prepare for the unanticipated, whether short-term or long-term. Make a plan, take inventory of your business, know what your business is all about, and have everything set up so that the person who takes over for you, whether it's temporarily or permanently, doesn't have to guess about what's going on in your business and that they can figure it out. Lay the groundwork for your voluntary exit. Plan 10 to 20 years in advance for what's going to happen to your business when you're eventually going to hang it up. And just keep in mind that what happens to your business when you're gone is largely up to you. Even if it happens suddenly and unexpectedly, you can have control over what happens to your business when you're gone. And so make the decisions that are going to make that easy for the people who take over after you. Okay, so that's what I had. That's where you can find me if you need me, tcarpenter@carpentertaylor.com. Now that I'm looking at that, it's not really very legible with the fonts I've chosen in the background, so I apologize for that. You can also find me, I'm part of the ASTA Attorney Referral Program.
go, we do have quite a few questions for Tom. One of which I will say, Tom, they're not ready for you to go just yet. So I will go ahead and make you the presenter again, because one of the first questions that we got was if you could show there's a particular slide that they wanted you to show, and I need to find out what exactly one they wanted. So give me 1 second. And then we have some questions about evaluating. So first, the audience would like to see your earnout slide again. They want to take some more notes on that. So let me go ahead and share the screen and make you the presenter so that you can share that slide with our audience again.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was that earnout slide, and then someone also requested if you could just put your contact information up as well. So you should have the controls to be the thing. And here's the earnout slide for those who asked about that. And if we could just leave that up for a few moments so that those who needed to take those notes can go ahead and grab those notes from the earnout slide. And while we have that, we have a good group of questions. So again, we're using the questions pane to submit your questions, but we have a good group of questions, and we have about 6 or 7 asking, how do we go about determining the value of our business if we decide to sell it? And then along those same lines, how are we going about finding buyers? So can you address that question for us?
Yeah, so evaluating your business. So this formula here, the earnout formula, that is really for a business that's doing at least, I would say, at least 2 or 3 million in sales, but probably more. So if your business is, so let's just say that your profits are, well, I'm not even going to try to do math. I am not a mathlete, but you know, if your income, the income for from your agency, adjusted for the expenses and your owner's compensation, you know, you're going to want to work with a financial professional to do this valuation, or an attorney to do this valuation if you're doing it this way, right? And keep in mind, this is just one way of valuing your business. But you're going to be basically, if your business is worth $100 million, if that's your profit, good for you. Then you're going to multiply that by, say, 3, so 300 million, and then 20% down payment would be 20% of 300 million, and then the remainder of that is going to be divided by the commission and fees that you brought in over the last 12 months. This is to determine how much of your payment is going to be paid out to you in future commissions and fees from the next 12 months. So so that's basically that. For smaller, but again, it's really what your business is worth is what somebody's willing to pay you for it. And for smaller businesses that are doing under 2 million in sales, I would say that's probably a situation where you're going to want to look at things like selling your book of business to somebody else, staying on for a little bit so that you can bring the goodwill with them, maybe getting a consulting fee or a referral fee, those types of arrangements. But where to find buyers? You can talk to a travel industry attorney. There are only 6 or 7 of us in the entire country who do this work. We talk to each other all the time, and from time to time, I will get calls from my colleagues at other law firms saying, "Oh, I just got an outreach from a client who's looking to buy an agency. Do you know anybody who wants to sell?" And I can put them in touch with each other. If you are a hosted agent, or your host agency or your consortium could be a good place to find people who might be looking to expand their businesses by buying another business. I would say those are the two main places.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Sticking with that same thread of evaluation, someone was wondering, how do you evaluate the value of your social media? in that as part of your business?
Well, that's a little bit tricky because, and it also kind of depends on how you use your social media. So in my business, we have a social media presence, but that's really just to keep us front of mind with people. We don't, I don't think we've ever gotten a lead for a booking from Facebook or Instagram. It's really more about people who are already on our mailing list being reminded that we exist. And so for that, I don't think it has a whole lot of value. But if you have figured out a way to generate leads from your social media, you should look at the bookings that you make each year and how many of those were originally generated from activity you had on social media. You can figure out what those bookings are worth in terms of profit to your agency, what percentage of those social media lead bookings, what's the percentage of that, how much of that were cruises that you were booking into a group cruise that you were marketing, how much of that was just people who saw that you were posting about it's time to take a safari, and they reached out to you about a safari, said that they found you on social media, and then you can figure out how much those bookings are worth compared to other people that are just people in your circle of influence, referrals from other clients, things like that. So knowing where your business comes from is an important part of taking stock of your industry, and that would also help you figure out what your website is worth. I mean, those are assets of your business, but what they're worth, is it either just a billboard so that people who want to check you out before they call you because somebody referred you? That's different than somebody who clicks through a link on your website to buy something specific.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Going into this a little bit deeper, someone asked, can another travel agency handle my client's future travel credit / future cruise credits to book their future travel if they close their business or pass away, unfortunately, etc.?
Yes, if the supplier is okay with that. But future travel credits really belong, I mean, keep in mind, future travel credits belong to the traveler. There were even some suppliers that weren't communicating with the booking agent about their clients' future travel credits, and then got kind of smacked down for that. But if you have a client that canceled a Cunard cruise during the pandemic and now wants to use those credits, they own those credits and they can book that cruise without you if they want to, or they can book it with another agency if they want to. So the agency doesn't own the credits, the client does, and so that shouldn't be an issue. But it's also a good reason to have really good supplier relationships if you're hosted, to book within your host agencies or your consortium's preferred supplier network, because those are the suppliers that are going to work with you and work and communicate with you. I have in my agency, I have a booking that I'm working on right now that was just given to me by somebody who was shutting down her business a couple of years ago. I will say that it is not the kind of client that I would normally cultivate in my business, but she trusted me to book her clients, and so now I'm working on it, and I kind of wish I wasn't, to be perfectly honest.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing. Another question kind of along these same lines is it customary for you to get some sort of deposit or something before you open your books to a potential buyer?
Well, you'd have an agreement for the due diligence deposit. In terms of earnest money, that's something that you can do. I mean, it's just negotiating, but it is somewhat common for earnest money to be in play when you're, if you get as far as due diligence, that means that you've got the framework of a deal in mind. You're just trying to figure out whether there's anything, any red flags, any undisclosed debt, anything like that. So usually you would have an agreement for an agreement with a potential buyer for a letter of intent or something like that.
Absolutely. Another question about this, it says, are we legally / ethically allowed to sell our client list?
You are, but ultimately the client gets to decide who they want to work with, right? If the client doesn't like the person that you referred them to, or the person who's doing the marketing to, if the person who's marketing to your client list is not somebody they want to do business with, they're certainly not under any obligation to do that. Which is why usually if you're selling your client list, there needs to be something else that goes hand in hand with that. You need to be making a warm introduction to the new agency, maybe sending out an email newsletter to all of your clients saying, we're really excited that I'm going to be kicking back and spending more time with my grandchildren, and I'm referring all of my business to Susan Smith because I trust her to take care of my clients the way I would take care of them. There's going to have to be something else in there. It can't just be that suddenly your clients are getting emails and emails from somebody they've never talked to before. So.
Absolutely. Speaking of client lists, this next question is, in terms of evaluating your business, when you do that evaluation, are you evaluating your client list separate from your business, or is that all part of one package?
So there's a difference between evaluation and an evaluation. An evaluation is what I was talking about earlier about, I'm just going to take a look and take stock of like where am I profitable, where am I not profitable? I mean, if you're doing that, regardless of whether you're developing an exit plan, you should be doing that, because if you have been spending a lot of your marketing funds marketing safaris, and it turns out that the big profit center for you is luxury cruises, then maybe you want to pivot your marketing plan, right? But the valuation is figuring out what your valuation is about, figuring out what your business is worth in preparation for selling it, and that's basically going to be looking at what your profits are adjusted for your compensation, and then the expenses that you have.
Absolutely. So this next attendee asked, in the event of an emergency, like a medical emergency, does the person who would take over servicing the accounts need to be an accredited travel advisor? Can a lay person service existing bookings? Not booking future travelers, just making sure the existing bookings are completed.
Well, I mean, there's really no, you don't really have to have a license. I mean, that's one of the problems in our industry, my personal opinion. There's a really low bar to entry to this industry. So you don't have to have your VTA from ASTA in order to sell travel. People who are part of multi-level marketing organizations are allowed to sell travel. Anybody can hang up a shingle and call themselves a travel agent. So putting that issue aside, I'm going to assume here that since all of us are ASTA members, we are all treating our businesses seriously. We're all adhering to standards of professionalism and the code of ethics that ASTA has. So that's good. But not everybody out there is like that. But the important thing for you to do is, if you've got somebody who has not been working in the industry, first of all, if you're a one-person show and you're gonna bring your Uncle Steve into your business, if you get hit by a truck, then you should make sure that Uncle Steve understands how to make a booking, how to service a booking, knows where the phone numbers are. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to do some work to bring Steve up to speed. And that was the earlier slide that I said, think about who your number two person is. They don't necessarily have to have a license to sell travel, but they should know what they're doing. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Absolutely. Along that same lines, we have a question that says, through my ASTA chapter, I have contacts that will cover for us and we for them. I give these agencies my booking information for any clients I have traveling while I am out of the office, so they can call the supplier if there is any issues. is this a best practice?
Well, I mean, you've got a plan, so that's good. If the arrangement is working for you, that's good too. I would just encourage you to think about what's your plan for if you're suddenly detained, you have something unanticipated happens on your trip while you're traveling, and your return is delayed, and you've got a new trip that's going out the next week, but you're in the hospital in Barbados. Does your replacement know where to find the information about other trips that maybe you didn't give them those things because you didn't anticipate that you were going to have a problem with that? And also, what if you're not traveling and it's not an anticipated absence for your business, but suddenly you are trapped someplace where you don't have the ability to run your business. You're in the hospital in intensive care in a medically induced coma. Like I hope that never happens to anybody on this call, but if that happens, is that person able to get into your bookings that are traveling so that they can take care of those clients? And maybe figure out a strategy for, if you trust them to do that. And that's a really great point too. Maybe your local ASTA chapter is a good place to find potential buyers, potential people to partner with, to negotiate an arrangement where you back each other up. I should have mentioned that earlier to the other question.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. The next few questions in our last 5 minutes or so are people asking about some more resources. So one of the attendees stated, I have searched the web and libraries for written best practices workflow. Where can we find a pro forma workflow for running a travel desk and an agency? Or another attendee has the similar question, how do we get started in creating such a pro forma workflow and travel desk and agency?
Yeah, so if you have an attorney who worked with you on developing your terms and conditions document, which the terms and conditions document is basically a document that can, you can go to I have a YouTube channel and I have all sorts of webinars that are recorded and interviews that are recorded there about the importance of a terms and conditions document, how to manage legal risk, workflow, that sort of thing. But when I draft terms and conditions documents for people, I include as part of, I do it on a flat rate, discounted for ASTA members. If you want to reach out to me about it, happy to have a complimentary consult. But when I do terms and conditions for people, in addition to drafting the document, I also have a conversation with them about their workflow, how to get your clients to sign on to your terms and conditions. But that also includes things like fee structure, insurance waivers, credit card authorizations, which are so important. And I cringe when I hear people tell me that they take numbers over the phone. Don't do that, don't do that. Chargebacks are a huge problem. But the attorney who drafted your terms and conditions document may be able to talk to you about the mechanics of getting people to agree to that, those types of things. I have those conversations with people all the time. You might talk to other advisors in your network about how they have their workflow set up, because even though maybe we're competitors in business, we're all part of ASTA, and this is the source of professionalism, right? This is where your relationships with other travel advisors are all designed to elevate each other. So I'm sure that there are other people who would be more than happy to share with you how they run their businesses, if they've got a way of doing it. I mean, there are lots of workflows that are perfectly valid. I have my view of what makes sense for my business. It seems to work for other people, but different. I was going to say there's no wrong way to do it, but the wrong way to do it is you don't have a workflow at all. You just are haphazard, and like I said, ready, fire, aim. Don't do that. Have a workflow. The client calls me. I do an intake call. After the intake call, I send them a client agreement with a link to my terms and conditions. They sign the term, or they check the box on the form, send it back to me in TravelJoy, or I send them an itinerary in Travefy with they're agreeing to my terms and conditions when they approve the itinerary, whatever it is. I mean, you can have lots of different ways to do it, but write it all down and make it easy for your sub-agents to follow it, your employees to follow it so that they're not cutting corners. But I'm happy to talk to anybody about that if they want to have a conversation.
All right, well, with the last minute or so, you mentioned earlier that you are a partner with ASTA. And so can you tell us a little bit about that partnership, specifically what it means for ASTA members if they would like to contact you to get more information about what you do?
For sure. So I am, you may not know this, but as an ASTA member, you get access to, it's not just about travelsense.org and getting really good leads and the professionalism from the VTA course and the legislative and lobbying work that ASTA does for us that frankly kept the industry, like ASTA saved people's businesses during the pandemic. And if you don't know that, believe me when I tell you they did. They saved the Alaska cruise season, or at least half of it, in 2021. I'm a huge and passionate supporter of ASTA. But aside from that, you also get discounts on stuff. So even if you're only in it for the freebies and the discounts, it's worth it for that. And so I'm one of the attorneys in the ASTA attorney referral program. There are others. So if I rub you the wrong way and you don't want to talk to me, there are other attorneys there. As part of participating in the ASTA attorney referral program, we do a complimentary consultation of 15 minutes, which I'm happy to do for any of you. And we also have a 15% discount off of our hourly rates. And I also discount for ASTA members the things that I do on a flat fee. If you're nervous, I know a lot of small business owners are worried about working with attorneys. They think that it's going to be super crazy expensive. I own an agency myself. I am mindful of the fact that small businesses don't have a lot of money to throw around, so when I do work on an hourly rate for people, for example, I don't turn on my clock until I've had a conversation with the client about what it is we're doing. I give an estimate of my time. If I'm representing your business and you have a quick question about something and I can answer with a quick email, I don't even turn my clock on for that because frankly, it takes more time for me to generate the invoice than it does to answer the question. So, I know, I believe Jeff Ment is another attorney who's in the attorney referral program. I mentioned earlier, we all talk to each other. Jeff's a great guy. He's a very good attorney. He knows what he's doing. And so either of us, I'm sure, would be more than happy to talk to you. If you need terms and conditions, if you need a solid independent contractor agreement, you're dealing with a complicated group, or if you're looking to work out an agreement with another agency for covering for each other or trying to sell your agency.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this webinar was recorded and it'll be up on asta.org in the webinar section of our website in a few days. I'd like to thank Tom for joining us and sharing all your knowledge, as well as Edward and the other small business chapter leadership for helping to bring Tom to us. And with that, we will conclude today's presentation, and we hope that everyone has a wonderful evening. Thank you so much and have a great day.